bonus episode. So we'll be having a look at the cover of the editions. I'm assuming Morgan's edition, which is yours is the dual book, isn't it? The Cop Hater Mugger combi book.
So it's basically got the same cover as Steve-O's, along with the cover of my original copy of Cop Hater.
Yeah.
Because it was cheaper to buy Cop Hater again than to buy the mugger on its own for some reason.
Which is the Orion UK edition.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
With the some Knuckle Gusters.
Gusters?
Knuckle
Dusters even?
Those even, yes.
But Knuckle Dusters. Yes.
Which don't feature in the
I don't think they featured
plot at all.
Does he use Knuckle Dusters? I can't.
He doesn't, I don't believe.
There's a face as well, which I've
Oof.
never
Oh, yeah, there
noticed
is.
before.
Hold it away from me, because I see it. Oh, it's like, yeah, it's...
Never noticed that before.
Is it a bit of a kind of police sketch or something, I guess?
That's interesting. Yes, so yours is the Orion edition. From what year was it? Was it 2001? Was it something like that?
2002.
Okay, and mine is the Penguin Books edition. First published in Great Britain, 1963, and this is the 1977 edition. And this features a city light scene backdrop, so a nighttime scene, and in the foreground is a rock with a broken high heel on it, or a block heel, or what? I don't. Do you know what? I don't actually know. Is it a high heel, a block heel?
No, it's high. It's also blocky.
Okay.
I think either will do.
It's a shoe.
It sure is.
We can say that much. And also, as far as I'm aware, shoes don't actually feature in this as well. So
honestly, they don't.
Same as Knuckle Gusters.
Look. Anyway, while we're here, we have, as I've mentioned in the main podcast, we have been asked a question by our number one fan, Mr. Stephen Morse.
Who writes?
And he writes, "Hello, Harry. Love the show." Reference to Harry Hill, one of his favourites. He thinks this question might be a bit spoilery, but to be honest, we haven't really come up with a policy on that, so never mind.
That's true.
He says, "If I were to dip into the series and start somewhere other than Cop Hater, the first book, which book would you recommend as an introduction?" Now, I know what I'd choose, and I wonder if you guys have got an idea on that. When you've got 50-odd to choose from, it can be a bit of a funny one, and you certainly don't want to drop someone in on something that's totally about coming off the back of a relationship or a wedding or something like that. And do you want to drop them in on a big villain?
Yeah, possibly not. As somebody who's read them in order, it's quite an interesting question, that, because you're kind of thinking, well, where would you like to be? I suppose there's a couple that stick out for me that I would say. One, I think, being Ice, which I wouldn't be surprised if that gets mentioned, because I'm pretty sure that that's probably the longest of all the stories.
And that's a 1980s one, is it? Ice?
Yeah,
Sure
it's noticeably bigger in scope and breadth.
You've pipped me, because that's exactly what I was going to say.
But I don't think that would be the... I think if... and it's a long time since I've read it, but I always remember Sadie When She Died being a particularly
it's a corker, yeah.
It's a very, very good one.
But one would probably like to have a bit of a refresh on some of those, because just to check that you've got all the essential ingredients there for somebody. But to be honest, I don't think you can necessarily go wrong with any of them, really.
They all work as standalones.
Yeah, and he's very good at, as we've mentioned, repeating his introductions for the characters, and he's also very good at not telling you everything that's gone before as well.
Yeah,
I
mean, normally if you read one from a midpoint, you'll find out something that you would have learned in an earlier one, but it's not going to spoil your enjoyment of any of the earlier books.
Not at all.
No, one I thought of that could be quite a good one is Fuzz.
Oh yeah,
because it's got a certain comic element to it at a certain point, but it's a really good police story, I think. It was made into a film, which was a comic film starring Burt Reynolds, which when we get round to reading that book, I think we should get that film and watch it. We'll do that as an additional podcast, because that was a comic film, but the book isn't really comic, but it does have some different types of police work in it. So I think Fuzz, which is in the mid-70s, is a really, really good one. So, Mr. Stephen Morse, the answers for you are, if you're looking for books and you happen to see either Sadie When She Died, or Ice, or you stumble across Fuzz, those are very good entry points into the series and will do what you need to do to hopefully get you hooked.
Absolutely.
I suppose a caveat on my the mention of ice earlier, I suppose it is slightly atypical for the rest of the series.
But I think it's sort of the apex of where those novels are going at that point in the 80s, like more complicated plotting, a little bit more depth to them. There were a lot of other great ones from around that era, Vespers, Lullaby, books like that. They're a little bit darker, but like quite complex. So any of those, all a great starting point.
Yeah, they are. And they're also, in a way, a sort of historical document of America at the time that you pick the book from.
Yeah, naturally, you get into the Reagan era, everything gets a bit
messy, doesn't it? If only he was writing them now. Goodness knows what an 87th Precinct book set in 2017 would be like. We're on the cusp of 2017. Teetering on the brink, one might say.
Yeah.
Yes, so there you go. Also, and just I'll be nice to Stephen Morse because he's just started making and recording music again. I used to be in a band with him under the name Lewis Morse, which is a great name for a project,
sneaky, isn't it?
Yeah, he's hoping to piggyback off the success of Colin Dexter's books. So yeah, and it's great. So look that up. Thanks, Steve. And that is our bonus material for this month, and we'll be back next month with The Pusher. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.